There are people that are more successful in whatever way that you want to define it. Go find those people who are more successful. Maybe it's making more money. Maybe it's just like being happier. Maybe it's in a better relationship. Go hang out with those people and try and learn and realize that your standards will raise to the level that you're seeing.
I think it's just a time to, like we said at the beginning, recognize how our relationships play into every aspect of our life, enhance every aspect of our life, and to see them as such a gift.
Using relationships as a means for personal growth and development to call you into your best self.
The connections that we have with ourselves and others determines the quality of our life. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Finding Simple Abundance podcast with Adam and Maggie. I'm Maggie.
And I am Adam.
And today we are diving into our third pillar of our simple framework, meaningful relationships.
Meaningful relationships.
And
absolutely.
So just a quick rundown on our simple framework is these are the pillars that are, make our lives meaningful and intentional. And these are the things we want to focus on and prioritize in our life. And so they are, do you want to say them?
Yeah, I would love to. If I can remember them all, I get nervous on camera, so I apologize. Simple, spells out simple, which is how I remember it because we can actually spell it out. It's an acronym.
Love it.
Not an initialism, an acronym. S stands for seek vitality. I stands for inner awareness. M stands for meaningful relationships, what we're talking about today. Mm-hmm. P stands for pursue creativity. Simple. L is live dynamically. And E is embrace thriving.
Yes.
And so, like Maggie said, I think the reason that we have this framework, that we even decided we wanted to create it as kind of a fun experiment, is that we wanted to have a way for us to, a framework for us to continue to develop as individuals and as a family and just as we're moving through this world, an opportunity to reflect back and say, what are the things that we value? What are the things that we're trying to accomplish in this world? Is there an underlying principle? Like, could we take it back to first principles and say, what is the essence that we're trying to accomplish as we move through this world?
Yeah.
And for us, it is that opportunity to seek vitality, that to get to know ourselves, to have meaningful relationships, to be creative, to live with a sense of dynamism, and then to just recognize that we want to thrive and not just get by. And so that's the idea behind our framework, is really just kind of a fun little mirror to hold up to us.
Yeah.
To see how we're living our lives and are we meeting the overarching goals that we were shooting for.
Yeah. And to kind of use them as a guide. So it's like within each one, it's like I'm asking these questions like, how is this challenging me? How am I exploring this? How am I doing things to enhance this? So so that's what we're asking with meaningful relationships.
I say each one of these is a rabbit hole in and of itself.
Oh my word.
And you can just like tumble down into this whole new world.
Yeah.
And that's what I think I've discovered as we've been going through meaningful relationships in particular. You had a really incredible insight the other morning when we were drinking coffee, talking about this pillar as we were preparing for this podcast and our newsletter this week. Which, by the way, if you're not signed up, go to adamandmaggie.com and sign up for that.
Yeah.
But meaningful relationships. What was that insight that you had about how it just kind of connects everything?
Yeah. So meaningful connections, I was like, oh my word, it's the thing that threads through all the pillars. It's the thing that magnifies each one. And so, just for example, it's like seeking vitality. When you think about meaningful relationships within that context, it's not that we seek vitality alone. Like we need other people to inspire us to be our best, to take care of ourselves in the best way and things like that, or when you're doing that with other people. And then inner awareness, it's not just about yourself. We need other people to talk through things or, provide wisdom that lets us know ourselves better. And then thinking about, living dynamically and embracing thriving and
And creativity.
Creativity so much, it's like you don't just come up with great ideas all on your own. You're inspired by each other. And then living dynamically, it's like things are so much more fun when you're with people, and how our community really does. It enhances our life so much. So I kind of said it in like a cheesy way, but I was like, it's like the secret sauce that like really makes our life so vibrant and beautiful is the people in our life, the people that challenge us, or the people that just make our life feel more exciting and good and fun. So anyway.
Yeah, I think the relationships, we are social creatures as humans.
We just are.
And so the relationships that we have, the tribe that we are in, has a significant impact. What do they say? You are the amalgamation, or you are the essence of the 5 people that you hang out with. And so the importance that we as a result of how impactful this is, have to place on thinking about who are we surrounding ourselves with, and how are we investing in those relationships. Because I think relationships are such a fun word, because it encompasses so many different types of relationship. Like you have an intimate partner relationship, like what we have. You have your relationships with kids, with cousins, with friends, with strangers on the street. Each little interaction that you have is like a little either opportunity for a further relationship, or just like a encapsulated little I would just say like an encapsulated little relationship moment in and of itself. And so,
it's so true.
We talk about meaningful relationships, but it's really interesting to think about how can you bring meaning to all of these different aspects of relationships, and how each relationship probably requires something different to make that relationship meaningful. Like you don't need to spend hours of prep time before you meet someone randomly in a coffee shop. But if you want to have a really meaningful heart-to-heart with a really good friend, spending a few minutes kind of preparing yourself and thinking about the things that you're struggling with or they're struggling with, and bringing that sense of presence to that conversation might be just what you need. And so everything's a little bit different.
And just that idea of just knowing that you're not alone in life is so, and that you have a sense of belonging in life, whether that be, however that be, whether it's relationships on the internet or whether it's relationships in real life. It's all so valuable to our lives. Anyway, I was going to touch on something else about that. Oh, even like just mentors, even in different interests that you have in life, like how impactful and amazing it is to have people to kind of guide you into different ways of learning things or showing you how to navigate things. It's so cool.
I love mentors.
I know.
That's one of the fastest ways that I found to learn something.
Right.
Second, well, I would still say it's faster. A close second is like a deep dive in AI. Because AI will tell you everything you want to know about a subject.
So
but
funny.
Having a conversation with someone who's an expert in that area, or even just a few steps ahead of you, is such an incredible opportunity. We're in this state of developing a new business and kind of figuring our way through the world of building something on the internet so that we can kind of have a different income stream that gives us more flexibility, more freedom, more opportunity to spend time with Arlo and travel, those sorts of things. And finding mentors that are a few steps ahead of us, it has been what has allowed us to accelerate the rate that we're doing.
For sure.
And sometimes they don't even know they're mentoring me. But I just like follow everything that they do, and then I just really learn and try and implement the things that I'm learning,
I know.
It's really fun.
It's really cool. Yeah, there's so much to this pillar. One of the quotes that I put in the newsletter that really stuck out to me was that our connections that we have with ourselves and others determines the quality of our life. And I just think that's so fascinating because there's so many things in life that you can do and that you can achieve and that you can feel like you're succeeding in. But yet that relationship that we have with ourselves and others it truly does either, there's just like a flavor of life that is either kind of dull or enhanced by recognizing that these relationships are so important and that we need to prioritize them and really grow them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They add color.
Yeah.
They add a sense of depth. And, as I've been doing a deep dive into the book Flow by Mihail Csikszentmihalyi, I'm practicing that one.
Yeah.
He talks a lot about relationships and how they can bring enjoyment. And enjoyment is different than pleasure, right? And so they bring a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction. And oftentimes, it's because of the challenge of the relationship.
Yeah.
Because it calls you into being present. It calls you into, navigating situations.
Yeah.
What is the tone that someone is taking? What is the words that they're using?
Right.
Do those match?
Right.
And so it just like, you're like starting to think through these things. And it's not a manipulative thing so much as just like, I really want to understand you.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to treat that as like a challenge to say like, okay, how can I really understand you, help you, and then kind of grow our relationship.
Yeah.
Almost as if it's like a game.
Yeah. And I think that's what's so cool about, like last week we talked about inner awareness, and now with meaningful relationships, it's sort of that thing that they go hand in hand. I think often meaningful relationships and our relationship that we have with those people that are closest to us, we all know that there's almost this like paradox of, gosh, this can be so hard, and oh my gosh, this is so wonderful. And I love this person so much, and I think it's so important to acknowledge that, because just as much as there's this aspect to relationships that is so beautiful and wonderful, there's also challenge in it. And so it really takes this inner awareness, and it's growing us as individuals. And like you said, it calls us to be who ultimately I think we really are, but it calls us forth to that person. And I think that's why we value our relationships so much, because it really is calling us to be who we truly are. And that is just a beautiful thing. Yeah,
I love that. I've always found myself to be more extrinsically motivated than intrinsically motivated. So if I'm wanting to achieve something, having an outside external pressure is the quickest way for me to actually succeed in that.
Yeah.
And so I would, using relationships as a means for personal growth and development to call you into your best self. Like sometimes I'll be like, hey, Maggie, I am, I want to stop watching so much YouTube, and then I say that to you. And then the look of disappointment on your face when you catch me watching YouTube is enough to, prevent me from watching it, or at least to shorten those stints.
Yeah.
And, all those things kind of add up together, where instead of watching YouTube, I'll just read a book, or something, because then Maggie doesn't look at me disapprovingly and disappointed, the sad puppy eyes.
Right. And what's so funny about that is that it's cool, because it's it's not even really about me. It's about you.
Oh yeah. It's me asking you to hold me to account. It's not you saying, hey, you shouldn't watch so much YouTube. It's like, hey, you said you weren't going to watch so much YouTube.
Yeah.
Why are you watching so much YouTube?
Yeah. And
then I have to say well, I just really want to, and I worked hard today, and I'm gonna read a book,
right? Right. But ultimately,
I'll just turn it off.
Yeah. But ultimately, it's you wanting to be your best, and then it's just so so funny.
Well, and I felt that with Simple Abundance Farm, our farm back in the day. I would work in these intense sprints with significant downtime, and I think if I could have kept a more, consistent showing up every day, it would have allowed us to grow and do some different things. It worked out really well for us. We had a really fun business. But when I started working at King Solar, the solar company that we help run, it became I had to show up every day, because I had a team that was relying on me. Whereas with the farm, it was just you and me.
Right.
And it was mainly just me, when Arlo was a baby or whatever.
It's a different.
And so having other people that were like, oh, Adam, like you have to get out of bed and be here at 8.
Yeah.
Whereas farming, I'd be like, man, you know,
it's fine.
I'm probably fine.
Yeah.
And so I'm probably taking this down a weird path. But I did want to say, like, relationships matter. Like the way that we interact with the world, like you can use relationships to set yourself up in a way that, like, again, like you said, calls you to your best self. Like hang out with people who are inspiring to you.
Yeah.
Hang out with people who are not going to put up with your crap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hang out with people who have a higher expectation or standard, and then live up to it.
Yeah.
And then how can you be that for your friends?
Yeah.
Like, how can you say, hey, we are better than this. Like, let's just do something different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so important. Like, it's so interesting how our environment really does shape who we are. Mm-hmm. And the, like you said, like the expectations that we set are kind of limited or limitless based on those that are around us. Mm-hmm. Like we're just like that. Like we're just very social creatures in that way. So I think that's why it's important to, in a way, like this is weird, but like in a way, like use that as a hack to be like, hey, if I want to be different, how can I surround myself with people who also have the similar standards that I want to have?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, just go like hang around people who are doing better than you. And then first off, you'll see that doing better is a subjective term.
Exactly.
First off.
And
second off, I mean, there are, people that are happier. There are people that are more successful in whatever way that you want to define it.
Yeah.
Go find those people who are more successful.
Yeah.
Maybe it's making more money. Maybe it's just like being happier. Maybe it's in a better relationship.
Yeah.
Go hang out with those people and try and learn and realize that your standards will raise to the level that you're seeing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's where I guess one idea I did want to touch on was the importance of some pillar relationships in your life and how this is something I had heard Naval Ravikant say. We were reading the book, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant.
It's so good.
It's so good. He's an investor, angel investor, and just kind of thought leader, and just a really insightful guy.
Just dropping wisdom bombs all over the land.
Well, that book is literally just distilled wisdom bombs. It's
I know.
Incredible.
Like I have to like pause it. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Rethinking my whole life here. Well, but he talks about this, and I had this intuitively, but this idea that there are a few key decisions that you make in your life that will have such an incredible impact. So it's where you live, what you do, and who you partner up with, really. I mean, it's like who you are actually going to spend 90% of your time with. I spend more time with you than I spend with anybody.
I know. It's so true.
And I lucked out so much. Because as much as I want to say I was really thoughtful and intentional about this, I think when I met you, I was like, it just makes sense. It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But I did really luck out because we have been able to grow together a lot. And, and as we've grown together, but then we've also grown kind of like in parallel. Like you've been able to do your thing and I've been able to do my thing.
Yeah.
And the importance of those decisions in life.
I know.
And if I would have had someone who was more negative or who was not interested in personal growth and development in the same way that I am.
Same.
It would have been,
it'd be
way harder.
It would be different.
And recognizing that, having like intentional conversations with, your partner to say like, hey, this is what I'm seeing and this is where I want to go.
Yeah.
Like, are you on board with that?
Yeah.
And so that you guys can both get on board and like help each other grow.
Yeah.
And again, hold each other to account and like that kind of thing. And then same thing with our children. So we're very much in the parental stage right now where we are parenting.
We're in the thick of it.
Parenting.
Yeah.
And to think about parenting not just as I've got to get him to school and make sure he survives, but to say, how am I setting up my child for success in life?
Yeah.
And part of that is talking to him about the importance of some of these conversations and some of these decisions that he's going to make. And, just setting standards higher to say like, no, this is what a loving and caring and growth-oriented relationship looks like. Modeling those things and then having those conversations with him. So the most meaningful relationships that I have in my life
Yeah.
Or absolutely you. And with my children. And it's like, how can we as a unit help each other thrive and not just get by?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a long little spiel.
I love it.
I apologize.
I love it though. One thing I was thinking about when you were talking was just, I don't know, it just keeps coming to mind, just this paradox of relationships. And I think it's so good to really, I don't know, just think about that and really wrestle with that paradox that they are. And there's so many paradoxes in life, but because it's like we notice and we recognize how much we're influenced by each other. And then at the very same time, having 100% responsibility for who we are and what we do. You okay? Is it not recording?
Nope, sorry.
Is it not recording?
We're good.
Okay.
I had a little scare that our mics weren't on.
I know, I could tell you were like...
All right, so let's back up and say like, okay, so that was kind of a long spiel. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. No, I love it. But I was just going to, as you were talking, I was thinking about how relationships and so many other things in life are really a paradox, and how there's this piece to relationships where we really truly influence each other. And then there's also this other side where at the very same time, we're still very responsible for who we are, what we decide to do, our decisions, our responses. And so like holding both of those things is really, it's just cool to acknowledge and to kind of ponder on and be like, okay, how do I want to influence, or how do I want to be influenced by other people and surround myself to be influenced and to be called higher, while also recognizing that I have the authority to make decisions and to take responsibility for all of my actions and all of my responses and things like that. And I think that's kind of by really embracing that idea, I think that's how we've been able to grow as a couple and to grow side by side, moving forward.
Yeah, like, taking ownership of the things that are ours, but also recognizing that like we're a team.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And that we really, like work off of each other. Like we respond to, like there's this synergy about how we are growing, but also individually growing as well. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's cool. So yeah, thinking about the holidays and gatherings and being with people.
Yes.
That was something that, I mean, just like our Christmas tree is up, like it's the holiday season.
Relationships it's very relationship heavy time.
Very relationship heavy time.
Which is, okay, first off, why do we travel and connect as families? This is just like a pet peeve of mine. When the weather's the worst, everyone's sick, you're going to get stranded. Like, why do we do that? Anyways, okay. Anyway, the holidays are here.
The holidays are here. We're embracing them fully. We're thriving through them.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's just a time to, like we said at the beginning, recognize how our relationships play into every aspect of our life, enhance every aspect of our life, and to see them as such a gift. And there's, that's why we get together in the holidays, because it's like, these are the people we want to hold close. Like, these are the things we want to uplift and remember, that this is what makes life rich. It's the people. It's the fun. It's the traditions. Yeah, like all of those things. And and then at the same time, kind of acknowledging that there are hard things about relationship. There are challenges that grow us. And then, so kind of taking those two ideas and asking ourselves how we want to show up to our relationships, how we want to deepen our relationships, and if there's things that we can do to, acknowledge the gift while also acknowledging the challenge and helping us grow deeper in our connections, because at the end of the day, it determines the quality of our life.
Yeah. Wait, was there a question there? Just like
was there a question?
I think there's just like an incredible, beautiful statement.
How are you feeling about that, Adam?
I feel great about that. I feel that relationships are not always easy, and sometimes when we all gather, tensions can run hot.
Yeah.
But when we take a second to recognize that we are all so grateful for the opportunity to be in each other's lives, I think that's really
important to acknowledge. I want to just very quickly, and then I want to see if you have any thoughts on this, kind of share that there's 4 things that I was like, I really do want to hone in on this, and I think it will just help me remember and deepen in that idea of deepening my relationships with other people. And so the first one was really just extending grace and just going into relationships with a mindset of grace and giving people the benefit of the doubt, just forgiveness, and truly just being, I don't know, just being okay to quickly forgive and to let people off the hook. I think it's like when we do that, it's like we're almost giving ourselves a gift by not like hanging on to things or wanting people to be different or going into a situation and thinking and like with judgment and just like going into situations just being like, you are you and that's fine and that's great and I don't need you to be different for me to love you and all of that, you know?
There's I don't remember if this was like in the Tao Te Ching or where I had heard this concept, but like forgiveness is really a gift for yourself more than it is for the other person.
Yeah.
Because especially when someone makes us upset, they don't even know they made us upset.
Yeah.
Like they're just living their lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and yet you're the one that's going to now carry this for, ages.
Yeah.
Of this like resentment or frustration or whatever. And it's like, man, if I could just let that go, that's a gift to myself.
Yeah.
To like no longer have that sense of frustration.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, forgiveness is a big part of like meaningful relationships because in order for a relationship to be meaningful, to have that sense of depth, there's a sense of compassion that comes along with it.
Yeah.
And, I ask for forgiveness a lot. And you're
so funny.
You are so kind.
I'm so
forgive
gracious.
me because you care about yourself and you want to have forgiveness for yourself.
And
like, I don't want to be
that.
upset with Adam for ages,
right.
even though he deserves it. It's like, I want to, move on with my life.
Right.
And,
right.
You're
funny.
So, and I would say that a sense of compassion is a big part of meaningful relationships. It's what helps make a relationship meaningful versus just a relationship of convenience, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so then my second thing was just really being present with people, specifically by just really trying to be aware of when I have my phone out. And, there's times when you need to be on it, and then there's just times when you don't, and you're kind of just scrolling, and your kids are around, and you're like, wait, what am I doing? And so, so just kind of being aware of that. And then my other thing is eye contact.
Yeah.
I really want to challenge myself to look people in the eye. Okay, this is
You're
also
looking me in the eye right now.
Hey, babe. This is really funny, but I still have been impacted by when we went to the float tank.
Yes.
The guy that owns it,
Alan,
he stares you in the soul.
Yeah.
Like
he sees you.
And I don't know, there was just like a sense of calm about him and just like how he was not afraid to just really look you in the eye, and he didn't need to feel silence. Like it was very apparent. And I just remember leaving and being like, I need to work on my eye contact.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Impactful.
Yeah. Like I really felt like he was just so kind, and he didn't even do anything, but it was like his eye contact was really good. So I just want to work on that. And because I have noticed where, you'll make eye contact with somebody and you'll just be like, oh, I feel awkward. And, and just, I don't know, just using it as an experiment to just settle into it and settle into the awkwardness and just, or
people notice
whatever.
when you make eye contact.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, this guy was really present or like really aware or whatever. Yeah. And really all it was you just were staring them into the eye, like in the eyes or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, this is completely off topic, but it makes me think of that Office episode where Jim is staring at Dwight, like right here in the forehead. He's like, I am looking at you in the eyes. It makes me want to do that to
I am looking at you in the eyes. You've done that to me before.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my word.
So, okay, well, I guess this feels like we're kind of getting into some like tips, tricks, ideas, challenges, something. And so I've got a couple that I want to throw at you.
Okay.
So,
wait. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead. Did you have another?
I had one last one.
Go for it.
Well,
so we have...
Now I can't remember it.
Put down your phone or be intentional with your phone.
Yeah.
Eye contact. What was your other?
Giving grace. And then my last one.
Wait, do you have a thing around giving grace?
Like we talked about before.
Like a tip, trick, challenge?
Oh. Not necessarily. I think it's just
look for opportunities.
Just look for opportunities like when that feeling comes up to just be like, I'm going to let this go. I guess a tip that I hold is...
These are tips for ourselves.
Yeah.
Like reminders.
Yeah, this was for me. Like it's
just
the reminder.
to tell anyone out there what to do.
No.
This is just for us.
It's just like, let people off the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just do it. Because it makes you feel better. It's like, I just want to have peace. Anyway, then my last one was I want to reach out to somebody that I haven't talked to in a long time. Like whether it's like a friend or family.
Rekindle a connection.
Yeah. And like literally call them.
Oh, okay.
Like I want to like just call them.
Very Gen X of you.
Wait. Yeah, really?
Just going to call someone.
Just going to call someone. I'm like actually going to call someone.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, those are mine because I just think that's fun to kind of challenge yourself to be like, hey, what if you just did this?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I like it. I think that's great. Those are great little meaningful relationship challenge ideas.
Seasonal challenge.
There you go. So I have a couple. One is I want to start looking at people in the forehead. And I think that's just to create an opportunity to...
create an opportunity for a dynamic life.
Yeah, a little awkwardness. Just to add some spice. That's all.
Add some color.
Eye contact, I will definitely keep that one in mind because I think that is probably one of the most impactful ways for me to maintain a sense of presence in the conversation is to actively, which is weird to be thinking about something else while I'm having a conversation. Yeah. But if all I'm thinking about is maintaining eye contact, it's like an easy way for me to stay focused. So I like that. Eye contact. The other is saying people's names. So when I was working,
you're so good at that.
Well, I've lost a little bit of it. So I used to work on a sailboat down in Key West, and we would do these eco tours, and we would have anywhere from 5 to 15 to sometimes 20, up to 20 people on a sailboat, and we would take them out. We'd go snorkeling, kayaking around the mangroves, talk about the history of Key West, those sorts of things, and we would even have wine tours, and on those boats we would have sometimes 20 or 30 people on those, and those would be like a sunset sail where we have some wines and cheese. Anyways,
so fun.
As a mate on board that boat, it was imperative that we learned everyone's names. I mean, or at least had some way of like connecting. And so I got to the point, and this is just pattern recognition. Your brain can literally learn these things where we would go around the boat at the very beginning, and I would be able to tell you all 30 people's names.
So cool.
And so then we just from hearing it one time, and like you're just literally doing it as they're going along, like you're like making up games, like rhythms, ideas, songs, whatever, connections in your brain. So that way, by the time everyone has gone around in a circle, I've got 30 names locked away.
That's insane.
And then you can keep that in your brain for like a good 2 hours, 3 hours, and then you let it go, and sometimes they stick around. Like I'll see the same people on the island later and be like, "Hey, how's it going, Jack?" Whatever, Gustav. So that was a skill that I had developed, and it did not come natural. I mean, I did actually develop it.
How did you do it?
Well, like I said, there's a bunch of different ways, but one of the easiest is you just start to make connections. So like if someone says, "My name is Amanda," like I just immediately think of like all the other Amandas that I know, and then have some other sort of like connection with something they're wearing or something that they're a key characteristic of them. And then the other thing was to try and use their name as quickly as possible in the conversation.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would make a joke of it. And I'd be like, Amanda, that's so great, Amanda. I just am really excited that you're here, Amanda. Amanda, I cannot wait for this really fun trip. Amanda, have you ever snorkeled before? Amanda, let's go get you set up with some snorkel gear. And then it would become like a joke and it's funny. But like, guess what? I've got Amanda locked away.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So that's something I want to get back is and part of it is just literally listening to people's names.
I know.
You're so quick to, sometimes they'll say it and then I'm like, wait, what was his name again?
Yeah, me too.
And so being okay to ask right away and then lock it in. Because the one word in the English language and any language that people love more than anything is the sound of their own name.
So true.
And so, okay, that was a really long-winded way of saying names. That's one of my biggest things. And then the other is I had heard about this idea of a 3-second pause before responding.
Oh, interesting.
And I thought that would be a really intriguing experiment to have a conversation and to be really diligent about waiting 3 seconds before responding.
I get to see you in a conversation and like the other person's like, Adam?
And I'm just like, 1, 2.
Are you?
I think that's a really interesting idea.
Are you coming along with us?
Yeah. Especially because I'm very much like I have a terrible habit of actually finishing people's sentences for them. I think I finish them really well and like, help wrap up ideas.
Leveled your conversation.
Yeah. Especially because then I found that I'll finish someone's sentences and then they'll echo back the thing that I said. So they'll finish their own sentence with my words verbatim.
Oh, sure.
It's like a really interesting...
And then you're like, basically, I'm having a conversation with myself.
I'm not sure if it's because I just know where they're headed and I say it and they're already headed there, or if then I now am influencing the conversation. Anyways,
right?
We are digressing very much.
That's hilarious.
So an alternative would be to let them finish their thought completely, be okay with silence, and then to wait 3 seconds before responding. And in the beginning, it'll probably feel very much like I'm waiting 3 seconds to respond. But the idea is that you, again, build a sense of pattern recognition where you start to just see these lulls in the conversation as an opportunity for actually letting whatever they said sink in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And greater presence for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Like where you can leave feeling like you were actually with that person versus I think there's certain times where I am with people, but I'm not really with them. Because I'm just kind of trying to get to the next thing or whatever. And so I don't even really allow myself to just like really be there.
Sure.
Because I didn't do the 3 seconds or the eye contact or whatever.
Or remember their name.
Jeez.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's cool to think through those little things because the little things, they really do turn into the big things. And ultimately, it really is about I want to be with that person for them, but in a weird way, it's kind of a selfish thing too. It's like, but I want to be present, like I want to be there for them, but I also want to get enjoyment from the interaction too, and not just like fly through it.
Well, there's a reason that our framework is around building a dynamic life for ourselves. Like it's the life that we want to live.
Yeah.
Now, one of those key aspects of the life we want to live is having an incredible relationship with other people.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, those things reinforce who we are and who we want to be. And so I don't think that's bad at all. Like you got to show up as your best self in order to show up for someone else.
Yeah.
You know,
I do too. I do too.
So
it's kind of funny, you know, when we like ask why, like all the way down. I really think so many times my answer is because I just want to enjoy my life, you know? And it's important to let ourselves enjoy our life instead of stress over things that really don't matter at all, you know? Because it's kind of important to remember like, okay, well, why do I want to have eye contact? Because I think I should, because I think it'll deepen my relationships. It's like, yeah, but why? Why do you even want to do that? You know?
Yeah.
Why do you even want to have a deep relationship? You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, because I want to enjoy, I want to really see this gift and these opportunities that are here. already present, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. We're weird.
We're so weird. Okay. Let's get meta for a second.
Okay.
First off, I think it's really cool that we are in our house right now. If you have any questions as to why, we have a 3-month-old baby who is about to wake up here in just a little bit.
Honestly, this is one of the longer podcasts because she's sleeping for so long. Like, I can't even believe. Like, I think we just keep going because we're like, oh my word, we can. Yeah. She's still sleeping.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so this is a podcast that we created, Finding Simple Abundance, and a newsletter that we are putting out. You go to adamandmaggie.com or findingsimpleabundance.com to learn about that, because we wanted to, first off, practice the skills of putting out information and putting ourselves out there, like literally creating. It's kind of art. I mean, that's really what we're doing. It's creating art.
And, well, self-development.
Yeah. And I was going to say, the other aspect of it too is how can we use this as a way for creating a framework for self-development, personal growth, you know, and then holding ourselves to account and also being able to just document it so you can look back and see some. Already I look back at some of our first newsletters and I'm like, whoa, my level of understanding of this topic, I would say the level of our understanding of this topic has already deepened so much for having written and created this thing. So if I were to encourage anyone out there to do anything, it would be to start a newsletter, start a podcast. I just believe it. I just wanted to, a little PSA, do it, man.
Yeah.
Either do it by yourself or find a friend or a partner, especially, and just experiment with writing consistently and recording a podcast. I actually had this idea of recording a podcast. Actually, I do this for myself. I have these personal podcasts where I talk to myself about ideas, and then you listen back to them, and it helps create this like reinforcing loop of ideation. But yeah, I just wanted to say, if you are sticking with us this far, we're now like 30 minutes into the conversation, and you're still here.
Props.
Thank you. First off, but also, what would it look like in your own mind? Imagine, like, what would it look like to have your own space, your own opportunity to create? And if you're interested in something like that, reach out to us, because we've got some tips, some ideas, some pointers that will definitely make that journey a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But a big part of it is you just want to encourage other people to understand the value of the internet and the value of being able to think through their lives and live with more intention. And I think at one point we started talking about intentional living, and it started to go down this strange path of like intentional, meaning, I don't know, kind of in a weird way, like minimalism, in a weird way, yoga philosophy. Like, it was just like, it came to this like interesting niche. And I was like, well, that's not really the intentional living that we wanted. And for us, living with intention literally means being present and thinking about how are we living? How do we want to show up? How can we get better? Personal growth, development, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
like more of like, I am the creator of my life, and thinking of ourselves as creators. I think that's where, I think that's where we came up with like being intentional as a word. But really what is behind it for us is more of, hey, we can create what we want to create. And the internet and like just this day and age, like we want to explore this opportunity that is in front of us. And we want to explore this as a vehicle for sharing, for ideas, for coming up with, just a vehicle to put it out there. And that has been it's been such a really, really cool process, because as we've moved and experimented through the process, there's so much that comes up of vulnerability, of sharing, of, am I good enough to do this? Is the work good enough? You know, just like all of these things that I think it really takes to own the creation process and to own, like, I am a creator. Like, I am here to do it, to, you know, to share. And there's something really important about sharing, I think. And so, well,
and I would say you talked about like the fears or like the struggle with sharing. I think one of the things that I found most valuable is the forcing function of taking abstract ideas and putting them into an intelligible structure.
Yeah.
So that way they can be conveyed to someone else.
Yeah.
And whether that's through writing or podcasting, even though these bad boys definitely get very rambly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's all part of that process of taking ideas, kind of distilling them down, making them understandable for ourselves and I mean for other people and in doing so for ourselves as well. And it's just an incredible forcing function, like I said, to really understand what it is that you actually believe.
Yeah.
Because when you try and share something with someone or teach someone in particular, it's like you can't help but really internalize and learn it.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when I have these ideas that I want to share, I have a sense of hesitation because I can't quite put them into a manner that makes sense for other people. And it tells me you don't actually understand this in the way that you think you understand it.
Right.
So spend some time with it, write about it, record yourself talking about it.
Right.
And then really start to understand it. And through that process of creating something that you can share, you will now understand it so much more.
Yeah.
And in so much more depth.
Yeah.
And so I've really enjoyed that aspect of it. In fact, I wrote a piece yesterday on LinkedIn where it was basically just write everywhere. It's like write everywhere.
Yeah.
And I mean everywhere.
Yeah.
And so the idea was, can you build a writing habit where you're just constantly in a state of mind of creating and writing and distilling your thoughts? Because at the end of the day, when you write, like you start with nothing and you end with a thing. Like you're literally pulling something out of nothing, manifesting it. And with technology nowadays, it has never been easier nor as convenient, and as accessible to start a podcast, to start a newsletter, to start writing on the internet because it's permissionless.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask permission for it, which still to this day blows my
crazy
mind.
Yeah.
That like we can have this conversation and put it out on the internet and no one can stop us.
Yeah.
Like we can just do it.
It's very weird.
It's a very weird
so
experience.
Cool. It's so cool. Yeah. And so, so it's just like, go for it.
Yep.
Go for it.
And that's also encouragement for us too. Let's go for it, baby.
Go for it. Nothing's stopping us.
Nothing's stopping us. So we have come far afield from our meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
Let's circle back. Maggie, the most meaningful relationship in my life is you. I was going to make a joke about it.
I thought you were going to say Moji.
I know. I thought about it, but I was like, no, we're going to go sincere over funny. Clear over clever, Maggie. Clear over clever,
babe.
I just really appreciate you. You are by far the most meaningful relationship I have.
I echo that.
Yeah, I just really appreciate sitting down with you, having these conversations. And a close second is our beautiful daughter, Eva, who let us sleep.
I cannot
is sleeping and let us have this conversation.
It's crazy.
And our son Arlo.
Yeah.
And Moji.
Yeah.
Our dog.
And Moji. Okay, I guess he's not quite number one.
Yeah. But I just meaningful relationships are such an important part of our definition of living the good life.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited next week we get to talk about pursuing creativity.
Yeah.
And you are such a creative person. In fact, you're coming out with some
you're creative. You're like the most creative.
But you're coming out with some like new like sketching. There are people that are more successful in whatever way that you want to define it. Go find those people who are more successful. Maybe it's making more money. Maybe it's just like being happier. Maybe it's in a better relationship. Go hang out with those people and try and learn and realize that your standards will raise to the level that you're seeing.
I think it's just a time to, like we said at the beginning, recognize how our relationships play into every aspect of our life, enhance every aspect of our life, and to see them as such a gift.
Using relationships as a means for personal growth and development to call you into your best self.
The connections that we have with ourselves and others determines the quality of our life. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.